on trying to organize the escrows. I talked to Mr. Wilson, and I wanted to offer the same invite to all of you. And I also wanted to reach out to my elected auditors to see if they would consider coming in and doing the legwork for the active escrows, such as Scarmazy, custody, Aldridge. The game plan, what me and Mr. Wilson were talking about was we could each grab one escrow. Like if I work on Scarmazy and one of the elected auditors work on Aldridge, one of the, that we'd each just have, we'd work together, but everybody would have one. I talked to the current treasurer. She said that would be helpful to hand her something similar to this, to punch in the deductions from the escrow. So see, I took Harshman bills that just dealt with it all the way through. Then she could put them into the against the escrows, and the game plan as it stands now is to get it to December 31st of 2022, and then who's ever in a deficit, tell them that's their number as of December 31st, 2022. The issue is going to be the last couple of checks that were given to Harshman and the old board the checks weren't divided, so it's going to be a matter of looking through bills and highlighting stuff for your particular escrow. Whatever your escrow, so we'd each be defined. There's more than just the 5 escrows and the 5 of us, but we wanted to not hold up somebody like Scarmazy or NVR or Aldridge or Pittsburgh Powder Coat. Just wanted to work on the ones that were moving right now and try to recoup.
And just to let you know, we're talking about a serious amount of money. We're talking over $300,000 in escrows.
I got a email from your office that Sunoco or Equitrans or someone wants a final calculation in their bonds release, so I have to find bonds over a 15-year period of time because they put that pipeline through multiple different roads, but multiple different bonds for those to be released. So I wanted to invite everybody to, maybe we can all organize time, some sort of, I know Mr. Pete Guido offered to help with that as well. I talked to him earlier in the week, but he did start the process, making folders for each. Got some accounting from the treasurer of where it was at to a certain point, and then I'm just moving forward through that. But the only way to ask for payments to the bonds is to have your supporting documents with it. They're not obligated to pay unless you can support the documentation. So, like, this is one person's escrow. But some of them, like Equitrans Sunoco, that is 10 years. So, that's number 1 on my chairman report. Number 2, there was a issue with the website, with the website that came to my attention the night before last, that our website went down. Then TJ messaged me that the emails are down. So I came here yesterday morning at 7 a.m. thinking it was just a website issue, but it was our domain. So uniontownship.com was not working. So that means secretary at uniontownship.com, treasurer at uniontownship.com, everything uniontownship.com. Called the website administrator. She said, no, it's not me, it's your domain. Called Peace. She said call PSATs. We called PSATs. PSAT said that it was done by GoDaddy. So we went on GoDaddy, and then, that was push forget the password, because I wasn't left any passwords. And it was gonna text a one-time password to a last 4 digits of cell phone number. Didn't know whose phone that was, so ultimately PSATs discovered it was set up by a Robert Baylog. So assumingly his phone number was where it was gonna go. Mr. Baylog left here suing the township under a federal whistleblower claim, so I didn't have much hope with having him work with us, but we researched the server, trying to look for an email from Mr. Baylog, because we could still search the server, we just couldn't get or send any emails. And we found his phone number, and I called him up, and he was nice enough to get on the phone with PSATs and relinquish our domain name back to us by a one-time password. Why Mr. Baylog owned our domain name, but he was nice enough, I called him up. I had met him during the whole PCSA litigation we knew Township had. We ended up being in the lobby of the courtroom. But he got on the phone with PSATs. I'd like to thank him. He got on the phone with PSATs. GoDaddy messaged his cell phone number. He gave it to the one-time password to PSATs. Then the second part of the verification was emailing a manager at uniontownship.com email address, where we had to have Advent reinstate an email address that hadn't been used in 6 years, so that he could send the second part to this email address that didn't exist anymore. And now, the gentleman, Diana would have to tell you his name, because I'm calling Baylog and different people, she's on the phone with PSATs. The gentleman from PSATs paid with his own credit card, $22, the gentleman from PSATs, just because, who do we turn this up, like, to change the owner of the domain, which was owned by Mr. Baylog. Who gets to own Union Township's domain name? That was probably a very bad idea. So, the PSATs took over our domain, because I figured that they'll always be around.
They don't accept checking accounts either.
What?
They don't accept checking accounts.
No.
You have to have a credit or debit.
You have to have a credit card.
That's
They
what
don't-
we
they
have
don't-
up there.
Yeah, so
Had the same
PSATs,
problem.
and the gentleman from PSATs, nice enough to spend $22 of his own money to get our domain back, and Diana and me worked on that for 5.5 hours yesterday, but just to get an agenda up on the website and so forth for this meeting tonight. But why Mr. Baylog, and so he opened up and he owned it. So apparently, whoever the treasurer was at that time, and the next time, and the next time, they could go on and remake the payment for the year, the domain payment.
The payment went to.
No, it went to this GoDaddy who they got. But we don't have I could have went and got the if I would have had the password, I could have just used the township credit card and paid for the thing. I didn't get left any passwords. So you have to put forgot password. That makes it text with whatever cell phone number is attached to the account. So we had to research who that was. Found out it was Mr. Baylog.
This GoDaddy is the administrator?
Not administrating, it's who you buy they secure the domain.
They own the names that you buy.
That's a
We're the
yearly
administration.
subscription. You'll get a bill every year.
I know, you get a bill every year.
Every year.
Which is why, PSATs will always be there. As long as there's 75 townships, PSATs will. So, originally PSATs did own the website, and then we bought the name, released the name of this Baylog. I don't know how it all works, but that was 5.5 hours of craziness. And thank you, Diana Christebeck, for working all that through us. Thank you, Mr. Baylog, and thank you, gentlemen, for PSATs. If you deserve money to purchase our domain, I'll have to send them something nice. I would have been more than happy to, but I would have owned it. So I didn't want to do that.